Yeah, obviously proud of our guys, how they competed against Butler. Butler's a great program, a great team. Coach Laval's an unbelievable coach, and I thought our guys had the right mentality throughout the game. There was ups and downs throughout it, but I thought they showed pretty good poise, even when things didn't go our way. The last 4 minutes of the game, we still were able to make enough plays to win the game. So a great win for our guys, and obviously moving on to the Valley season. I think the non-conference part of the season is to prepare your team to have success in the Valley season, and the Valley is such a grind. And now this year with the change of the schedule and playing the same team back to back, it's going to probably be even more so of that. So our guys are excited to get going with the Valley season. We have an extremely tough opponent in Evansville to open up conference play here at home, and we've got to have a couple good practices and be ready to go on the 27th.
Tom Timmerman, you want to start us off?
What did you learn about playing back-to-back games for those North Dakota games? What's the experience there, and how does that translate? And how tough is it? What's going to be the toughest part about playing teams back-to-back?
Well, I think the North Dakota was a great experience, for us as coaches, for our guys. I think the unique thing about it is playing the same team. I think playing a different team, even though if you play back-to-back, I think the guys are kind of used to that with, the MTEs in the beginning of the season and Arch Madness. But to play the same team that second day is what's really unique in college basketball. So, I think just trying to figure out what the best way to go about your schedule is in between those 24 hours between games. And then for our guys, just the mindset of facing that same team again. Hopefully, they understand some things now going against North Dakota, and that, we can play better that second game, because I think the first game, of these back-to-backs are going to be treated like any other, regular typical game. Really, you're going to prepare the same. The guys are going to come out and play the same way like they would for facing an opponent the first time. It's just that game 24 hours later against the same team, which is really unique.
Yeah, you have an issue on challenge on. Yeah, they're going to adapt, and you can't come out with the same game plan 24 hours later.
Yeah, I think slight adjustments in those 24 hours are going to be crucial. Can you clean up a couple things? Can you take away a couple actions? Is there something they did that really hurt you that you can try to adjust? You can't change who you are, or your principles defensively, or how you play offense in 24 hours. I think you got to kind of stick to what works and what type of team you have. But you try to add a couple actions for that second game that you might be able to steal a basket or two on, and then likewise try to take away maybe some of the actions that hurt you in that first game.
How is it going to change the conference season? Just how the league will play out with playing one team twice in 2 days, and you might not go somewhere. How's it going to change, you think, how the conference looks?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't really know. I don't know, what teams are made for back-to-back games and what teams aren't, or, who has the advantage or who doesn't. I think it's new for everyone. The thing is, all 10 teams are going through it. So, like every year, though, I think in the Valley, there might be injuries, or this year there might be some COVID, and some teams might not be as healthy in the beginning of the season and more healthy towards the end of the season, and that'll adjust how teams are playing. And when you face a team, also depends on kind of where they're at. So I think that'll still factor into it, but it's really unknown, to be honest. I know for us, like I said, that first game, we're going to treat it the same, and then it's just, that second game, can our guys come back and play with that same type of energy and intensity as the first game?
What did you like best about the Butler game?
Just our competitiveness. We didn't back down. We didn't play perfect. We had bad possessions offensively, defensively, but I thought our kids competed the whole game.
Thanks, Bryan.
Thanks.
Jeff Bidwell.
Bryan, in terms of back-to-backs, is it maybe just in terms of workflow a little taken off the plate of your coaching staff, knowing that you can scout Evansville, you're not having to use that time later in the year to sort of re-scout them again? Does that change anything on how your guys work sort of behind the scenes?
I just think you can have more of your staff kind of all hands on deck, for each series, instead of playing 2 teams a week and maybe having a couple of your coaches start prepping for that following game. You don't have another game for, another 6 or 7 days. So I think, in terms of the staff and the continuity and everyone on the same page, on the same game plan and presenting it to the guys the same way in practice, I think that's beneficial. And it'll be interesting, obviously, as the season goes along in terms of the scouting part of it. Do you adjust things? How do you do anything different if some things work better than others?
I had an old high school coach that used to say when you played them back to back, the second nights were much more reliant on your bench, and obviously it will be sort of game dependent and series dependent, I suppose. But do you anticipate having to go a little bit deeper on those second nights? Yeah,
I mean, it's obviously to play maybe 5 or 6 kids 35 minutes or 40 minutes and back to back is unrealistic in order to win in this league, just because of how physical and how competitive each game is. So I think having depth, having some experience, and just having different guys be able to step up throughout the conference season will be huge. I think some guys might not get a lot of time one series, and the next series might be the reason you win. So I just think having different options in those 2 games, back-to-back games, is going to be huge.
In terms of you obviously want to win every game, and you have so far, but is there anything that has, from your guys, that maybe has surprised you a little bit, and maybe you're a little ahead of schedule or anything of that sort here a few weeks into the year?
No, nothing surprising really. It's good to see our kids, like I said about the Butler game, just compete, and not back down, no matter what school we're facing or where they're from. And, whether it's Butler or Quincy or anyone, I think our guys have had the right approach each game. And we are a young group. Obviously, we are mostly freshmen and sophomores. And, to have that type of maturity heading into a game, I think is obviously beneficial for us. So, hopefully our guys can just keep that same mentality through the conference season. We know there's going to be ups and downs. And when we face adversity, how are we going to respond?
And last question, sort of mental health has been a big part for so many of these athletes, being, in their own bubble within the programs for really all sports. And you guys having to keep everybody away from home, even the normal day or 2 they get to run home to see family. What are you doing, I guess, to kind of make sure everybody's still positive? Winning's obviously helping, but just in terms of forcing them to be away from home.
Yeah, it's something that we talk about as a staff daily, really for the last 4 or 5 months, just with our guys. And that's, I think, one of the things that's shown, is just the resiliency from all these student athletes and their love for the game and their love to be part of a team, just what they've gone through with, all the testing requirements, being in quarantines, not knowing when the season's going to start, then games getting canceled through the season. It's a credit, to everyone, and how much they really want to be here and what it means to them. And for us, it's just making sure our relationships with our guys are great and that we know where they're at daily in terms of their mental health, and obviously having strong relationships not only with them but also with their families, and making sure that everyone's on the same page. And I think over these next couple of days, just keeping the guys together and understanding that this is a unique year, hopefully once in a lifetime type year that everyone's experiencing, and that going through it together will make us stronger.
Thank you.
Todd Hefferman.
Yeah, Bryan, you talked about having different options when you're playing 2 games in 2 days against the same opponent. You got 2 guards, Harvey and Damas, that can post up, that can also shoot threes, plus Devonzo. Do you feel like that versatility gives you a better chance to adjust to teams that second game, potentially?
Yeah, I think we got multiple guys who can do different things offensively. And I think, that'll help the first game, that'll help the second game. It gives us some different options. If, maybe we figure out how teams are guarding us that first night to be able to be flexible offensively. I think, along with Dalton and Steven, those guys are versatile players off the bench as well. So, we just got to continue to get better, as a team.
When you've got really good offensive players, sometimes it's hard to share the ball. How have you gotten this team to be so unselfish?
Well, they want to win, and they've won their whole lives, and they understand that, in order to win, we got to have great possessions offensively. We got to pass up good shots to get great shots, and I think they all realize that if you win, all that individual stuff will take care of itself. But if you put the team first, usually good things happen in the long run, and these guys are committed to doing that.
Looking at Evansville, how much did Juwan Newton and Shamar Gibbons make that team go?
Yeah, they got really good guards. They got, Coleman, the stretch five. I mean, they're going to be a very difficult matchup. Coach Licklyer runs great stuff offensively, puts you at disadvantages constantly on the defensive end. So they're extremely hard to guard, and we got to do a good job of, obviously keeping them out of the paint and contesting threes. And then offensively, we got to take care of the ball against their defense.
What's the biggest difference you see when you watch them now from last season?
Well, I just think they play with better pace offensively. Running Coach Licklyer's system, I think everyone's on the same page. And then I think Newton and Givens are a year older, and Coleman's more comfortable in that role. So you can just see, over, whatever it's been, almost a year now probably with Coach Licklyer, that everyone's a lot more comfortable with how he wants his team to play and their culture.
And then just, with Christmas, I don't know if you're going to have people over or have a catered dinner or whatever, but what will you try to do to make it still feel like Christmas this week before the game?
Yeah, I think just be together. Obviously, we got to get some practices in. But, I think everyone, being together, try to do some games with the guys. And, I think they understand. They see college basketball. They'll see college basketball games on Christmas Day for the first time. So they understand what's going on this year. But I think the main thing is just, being there for the guys and having the guys together over these next couple days.
Thank you.
Matt Varney.
Coach, I know it's been a topic the past few weeks, but it's really become clear this non-conference season that your team has gone from Damas being your primary scorer to having four guys in Marcus, Ben, Lance, and Trent being able to score. I know that there's a lot more that you can do when you have an increase in the amount of guys that you can lean on, but what's the biggest thing for you to have that increase in dependable scoring?
Well, kind of like I mentioned earlier, it provides a lot of different options offensively. We don't have to rely on one person to have a great game for us to win. It gives us a lot of depth, and depending on how defenses guard us, we can take advantage of different situations and different coverages. And I think when you have multiple guys who can score the ball, the spacing on your offensive side really is much better, and it opens up more driving lanes and paint touches for you as well.
Considering that they're all sophomores, can you look out into the future kind of and tell us where your confidence is for them and what expectations you could have in 2 years when they're all seniors?
I don't even think about that. I mean, I don't treat them like they're sophomores. I don't treat Dalton, Kyle, or Eric like they're freshmen. We expect to win. I coach them, like they're all seniors, or the plays that they should make, the defensive stance they should be in, the rotations they should be in. That's kind of the standard that we hold them to, and the standard they want to be held to, because these guys don't want to wait to their seniors to have a lot of success here. So I think we're focused on this year and being the best team we can possibly be this year.
With wins against top 100 teams like Butler and Murray State in the non-conference season, how does that affect your confidence against a top Valley team like Loyola or a hot team coming off of their own big non-conference season like Drake? What's your confidence like being able to play teams like that, knowing that you can compete with top 100 teams?
Yeah, I mean, I think this year, especially with the rankings and everything, and different teams playing different amount of games, and teams being, healthy, some guys being out with COVID, we don't look at the top 100, as much. I mean, I think Murray State and Butler are really good teams, and I think Evansville is a really good team. They've had some injuries, with Newton and Samari Curtis back now. Their only loss has been to Belmont, which is a great program, so we're going to have our hands full. So, I think our guys are going to get up for every Valley game.
The Valley has had a really good non-conference season, obviously partially because of, just the difference in the way the season has gone this year because of everything. But, Drake's undefeated, you guys are undefeated, Bradley's been great. Looking around the conference and how all the teams have done so far, what does it say about how far the conference has come the past few years since Wichita left?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've always thought the Valley, I mean, obviously I'm completely biased because I played here. I've only coached in this league, but I think it's one of the best, basketball leagues in the country because of, the players, the coaches, the fan bases, and it's a basketball league. I mean, and the teams continue to get better, I think, through the season in our league. I think, the first couple of weeks of the season to where teams are at during the conference season, they're different types of teams because the type of coaches and the players in it continue to improve weekly during the season. So, and you can see by our postseason success in the NCAA tournament, when we get teams in there, there's a lot of success going on in the NCAA tournament when we play against teams from other leagues. So, it just shows that we're continuing to get better and that, that we can compete and play against any other teams in the country.
And then my final question, obviously got to ask about Evansville. What are they going to do to give the Salukis the most fits in this two-game series coming up Sunday and Monday?
They're going to do a lot of things. We have to play extremely well if we want to get just one win out of the series. Like I mentioned before, offensively, they run great stuff, and then they got 5 guys on the floor who can make threes. And they got quick guards that play downhill and get to the paint. And then defensively, they're just tough and physical. You can tell Coach Licklider is, embracing that into his players, and his players are receptive, and they play great man-to-man defense. And for us, we have to be ready to go, on the 27th, and then kind of match their intensity and match their physicality.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks,
Jason
Matt.
Hurst.
Coach, everybody keeps asking about the conference play, how you're going to coach it with back-to-back games, but the only difference to me of it being from the conference tournament would be a different opponent. So do you have to have the tournament mindset, I guess, with this approach?
Yeah, a little bit, but like I mentioned before earlier, it is a little different because it's that same opponent that the guys see that next day, and that's what the unique thing is, I think, for more so for the kids even than the coaches, but just coming back and playing the same people that you just played 24 hours ago. So I think you just take every series, as its own. You treat it as its own. It's a a mini week, a mini season right there, and you got 2 games, and it starts with that first game. All you can do is control that first game. And for us, we're not even going to worry about the second game. We're not going to save anything for the second game or rest guys for the second game. I think every team's goal is going to try to win that first game of the series.
When you played North Dakota, the second game, you could see the depth was a factor. And then I know when your brother coached against SEMO, he had a gut feeling and went with a feel and kept the same guys on the floor. And then you only played 8 against Butler. How much is it just getting a feel for the game and just be like, yup, I'm going with these guys, or you know what, we're going with depth, even though it is back-to-back. But how much is it? It seems like every game, your rotation, it seems to be, your 5 seems to be there, but like how you're getting them in and out and the rotation and the depth seems to change.
Yeah, I think you do everything you can to prepare, before the game to have success. You got plays that you want to run, you got different coverages, and you do everything. And then once the game starts, you got to be flexible. You got to be able to pivot. You got to adjust. You got to see how guys are playing, foul trouble, how the other team's players are playing, and matchups defensively, offensively. So I think that's always going to be a constant in terms of being able to play different guys, and that's why I think this year's team just having a little bit more depth and flexibility is a huge advantage for us.
You mentioned cleaning up turnovers, and you don't commit your first one against Butler until 4:27. I feel like the guys, they're coachable. When you say something, they respond. They're diving on the floor. What is it about this group that they're responding to coaching, but when you point out, hey, this is something we got to clean up, it looks like they're doing it?
Yeah, it's an extremely coachable group. Obviously, we still have a long way to go with taking care of the ball, blocking out, a lot of defensive stuff, offensive things. But I think when the guys, they understand what it takes to win, they're just learning how to do it right now. They all want to do it. I think they're starting to get how hard it is to do on a consistent basis, on a possession-by-possession basis, and they're trying. We're not there yet, but they're continuing to make the right steps.
Against Butler in the second half, they started to go more into the paint, like low post. When you look at the Valley, like Drake and Bradley, they have size, and obviously you can see the difference in the rebounding against opponents, but you guys still continue to put a lot of pressure with the guard play and try to get them out of sync to start the that shot clock. So is there a way to kind of answer the rebounding with the difference, or is it just continue to put ball pressure and try to box out like you just said a few minutes ago?
Yeah, it's a team effort. We don't have a 7-foot guy who jumps over the rim who's just going to clean up everything if he never blocks out. So for us, it's got to be all 5 guys. And I said before, it's not just our bigs or Marcus's responsibility. They will go rebound. Our guards have to take a lot of ownership of rebounding down. And when we do rebound, we're able to play in transition. So I think the guys are starting to understand that. I think they're starting to embrace some of the physicality and blocking out. And I think they see the results when we're able to, finish possessions off, that our offense is a lot better on the other side of the ball.
And then the last thing for me, more of a fun question here, is there a family tradition or a Christmas story, a favorite Christmas story or a holiday tradition that stands out for you?
That's a good question. As a family, we always read "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" on Christmas Eve every night. So we've done that since we were little, even when we were separated in different parts of the States, or when I was in France, out of the country, we still did it over Skype or whatever. So that's always been our tradition.
And actually, I do want to break my promise. We were joking before this started, but none of the guys have seen Hoosiers. And so winning at Butler, with you guys being together, do you think there's a chance that you watch Hoosiers together at least some point during the season? Because most of your players have never even heard of it.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. That's a good question. I didn't know that none of the guys have seen it, but it's definitely something that they should watch. So we'll have to recommend that over Christmas break here while they got some time without classes.